This
ran a
conference
few
will
minutes
now
late,
be recorded.
but we are here. So I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm going to ask Martha, if you don't mind, to go ahead and read that that statement regarding virtual meetings for us.
Sure. In light of the 2020 COVID-19 virus and current guidance regarding the physical distancing to reduce the potential for spread, meetings of the Richmond Regional Planning District Commission have transitioned to a virtual format. Regional public bodies were granted authority to conduct meetings electronically pursuant to the provisions of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.2 and related legislation approved by the General Assembly of Virginia during the period of the governor's state of emergency declaration for COVID-19. While we do not know the exact duration of the current practice of electronic meetings, we will continue to function in this manner until such time as it is deemed appropriate to return to in-person meetings. Staff provided notice of this meeting and the means by which we are virtually gathered to members of the public on Monday, August 3rd, 2020 through electronic posting on the PlanRVA website and email distribution of notice to members, alternates, and known interested parties, including the media. This meeting will be recorded. Audio-visual recordings of the meeting and materials will be posted on the PlanRVA website within 48 hours of this meeting. Any member of the public participating as an observer during the meeting today may submit comments or questions at any time during the meeting via email at info@planrva.org or by using the online chat functions of the meeting platform. Those individuals who are observing by phone may be called upon to share questions or comments. This meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for members of the public to address the body. All comments and questions submitted during the meeting will be reviewed following the meeting, and to the extent practical, responses will be provided or posted on the PlanRVA website. We ask that everyone identify themselves first when speaking so that we can more accurately record the activities of the meeting. All of the lines will be muted by our meeting administrator to minimize additional noise and feedback, but you may unmute your line at any time to request acknowledgement from the chair. Staff will be monitoring the chat functions throughout the meeting to assure we do not overlook anyone wishing to participate as appropriate in the discussion. Does anyone have any questions regarding the process for assuring effective participation or facilitation of the meeting? Seeing or hearing none, I'll now ask our clerk to certify that we have followed the approved procedures for appropriate notice of this meeting and the means by which we are convening.
Yes, we have.
Thank you. Now we will do the roll call, so please indicate your presence by saying here when your name is called. Ms. Fusco will call the names of all of the commissioners, alternates, and then we will have staff give the opportunity to identify themselves and then any guests that are on the call today. I do know that we have a couple of phone-in calls, so I'll try to label those for those of you that are on the web-based version as we go along, but Diane, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Okay, thank you. Starting with Charles City County, Mr. Cota. Ms. Johnson. Ms. Russell.
Here.
Thank you. Town of Ashland, Ms. Abbott. Mr. McGraw.
Here.
Goochland County, Ms. Lascalette. Mr. Spoonhauer.
Here.
Chesterfield County, Mr. Carroll.
I'm here.
Mr. Davey.
Here.
Ms. Fry.
Here.
Ms. Haley.
Here.
Mr. Holland.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Winslow.
Here.
City of Richmond, Mr. Blackwood.
Here.
Ms. Gray.
Here.
Ms. Larson. Ms. Lynch. Dr. Newbill.
Here.
Mr. Poole. Mr. Giovia.
Here.
Hanover County, Mr. Davis, Ms. Lorenzon, Mr. Peterson,
Here.
Ms. Pritchard, Mr. Whitaker,
Here.
Henrico County, Mr. Archer, Mr. Brandon, Mr. Mackey, Chairman Nelson, Ms. O'Bannon.
So I'm here if you called me already. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Ms. O'Bannon, Mr. Schmidt,
I'm here.
thank you. Mr. Silver, oh, sorry. Mr. Thornton, New Kent County, Mr. Lockwood, Mr. Moyer,
Here.
Ms. Page,
Here.
Powhatan County, Mr. Byerly,
Here.
Mr. Nordvig,
Here.
Mr. Hall. Thank you.
Diane, I will let you know Mr. Archer is here. I see him on the call. And Mr. Thornton, I think, is en route, not yet on the call, but is going to join as soon as he can. So we'll probably have at least he joining a little bit later.
Okay, thank you. I'll make note of that.
I apologize. I had my mic muted.
I saw you try, Mr. Archer.
Thank you. It's early.
Anyone else?
All right. Thank you. Anybody else that we may have missed?
We do have a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Diane.
Ned Smither from Powhatan's here. Thank you. Sorry I'm late.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move down to under agenda item number 1, recognition of newly appointed commissioners and alternates. Are there any newly appointed commissioners or alternates on the call?
Yes,
And
Mr.
if
Chair,
so,
I'll do an introduction.
yes.
Okay. Mr. Dan McGraw is joining us from the town of Ashland, so welcome. He is replacing Dr. Sack, longtime member. So thanks for being here. Bobby Hall is our new appointee from the Powhatan Planning Commission. So thanks again also for being here with us. And Jacob Giovia is our new citizen member from the city of Charles City County. No, I thought city of Richmond. Sorry, Jake, I got my notes mixed up. Thank you for being here this morning. And those are the 3 new appointees, Chairman Nelson.
All right. Thank you, Martha. Welcome. Welcome to the commission. Those of you, I think I heard 3 names, and we look forward to serving and working with you guys over the course of the next term for you. So as Martha shared earlier in the statement regarding virtual meetings, there are 2 public comment periods. The first we are entering into now. Speakers may address the commission for up to 3 minutes on any matters included in this meeting agenda. Speakers are requested to give their name, locality in which they reside, and if appropriate, the organization they represent. Members of the public may also submit comments through the chat function. Are there any members of the public who are here and would like to speak to the full commission? All right, we're hearing none. Let's move to requests for additions or changes to order of business. Are there any requests for additions or changes to the order of business? All right, Hearing no requests for additions or changes to order of business, we do need to move forward to the minutes and its acceptance. Is Mr. Davis on the call?
I don't think so.
You say he is?
No, I do not think so. No.
Oh, okay,
He's
okay,
not.
all right. Well, are there any questions or concerns about the minutes? If not, can we get a motion to accept the June 11th minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes, Mr. Carroll.
I'll second.
All right. All right, Kevin Curl has made the motion. Kim Gray has second. Again, any questions, concerns, comments? All right, if not, Diane, if you don't mind, can you do a roll call for us?
Miss Russell,
Yes. Yes, please.
thank you. Mr. McGraw,
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Mr. Davy,
Yes.
Miss Fry,
Aye.
Miss Haley,
Yes.
Mr. Holland,
Aye.
Mr. Engel,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Winslow,
All right.
Mr. Blackwood,
Aye.
Miss Gray,
Aye.
Dr. Newbill,
Aye.
Mr. Giovia,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker,
Aye.
Mr. Archer,
Aye.
Chairman Nelson,
All right.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Mr. Thornton, Mr. Moyer,
Abstain.
Miss Page,
Aye.
Mr. Byerly,
Aye.
Mr. Nordvig,
Abstain. I was not present.
thank you. Mr. Hall, thank you.
All right, thank you, Diane, for doing that for us. We're going to move down now to standing committees and other reports. The executive committee and chairman's report. I don't have much to share other than to let you guys know that we did send out, and some of you may have seen it, and I'm certain that Mr. Holland, under the audit, facilities, and finance committee report, will probably delve into this a little deeper. But we did send out an email about our current state to local boards and council chairs, government administrators, finance committee, a preliminary financial statement for fiscal year 2020 reflects an operating net income of approximately $278,000, which resulted in approximately $1,068,600 dollars in our designated fund and
Mr. Nelson, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm not sure if others are.
I am too. I am too.
I'm having the same problem.
Same here.
uh, uh,
I'm sorry, Mr. Nelson, we're not hearing you right now. The connection
Million.
must be poor.
And
Hold on, everyone. I think we're working through the difficulties. Mr. Nelson, just so you know, we're not able to hear you.
we've been able to do
Still not hearing Miss Cedar.
Yeah, Chairman Nelson, I've texted you. I think the connection is bad. We're not hearing you come through all the way. It's just every third word or so. If you want to give a thumbs up, we could ask Mr. Holland to go into the audit committee report, or if you want to text me another suggestion, I can do that. Mr. Holland, you ready?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Martha, we can move forward if you like. Terry, would you please review the information, the financial information, as the chairman alluded to in letters to the boards and commissions around the region? It's really great news, and I thank you for your letter, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nelson. We appreciate that. It's greatly appreciated. Terry?
So
Would you like to go?
essentially, the agency is going through their fiscal year 20 audit at this time. And we've recorded all of the necessary adjustments to this point. And the net income, the year-to-date net income for fiscal year 20 is coming in at $278,068, and the projected fund balance is $1,068,688, which is over the $1 million target. Mr. Holland, did you want to continue? Or did
Yes,
you want
please continue. Let me just
Okay.
say, first of all, I think that report, that statement deserves an applause, because we remember the conditions we were in previously, and we have with the steps, and I applaud the Finance Committee too. But please go on, Terry, and complete the information so that we can do a final comment on that. Thank you.
So moving on to review the May financial statements, the net income for the month of May was $49,559, which did result in a favorable variance of $43,283. This was due to the program income coming in under budget for $131,494, resulting in the program expenditures coming in under budget for $119,989. Keep going, please.
Please, general
here
results.
We see the line by line detail for the month. And next we come to the balance sheet and statement of net position, where we can see that the projected fund balance is $1,072,929. Are we ready to move on to June?
Please move on to June. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Terry, could I ask a simple question on the balance sheet?
Yes, sir.
It's probably simple, but I don't understand. What are deferred inflows?
Deferred inflows are adjustments that are not due in this accounting year. They're future projections. So simply, we remove those in the right-hand column because they're not actually due. They're just part of the VRS projections and, like, the deferred rent liability, which is treated similar to pensions. It's just a future offset.
So this is money that's going to be owed, but it's not owed yet. Is that what?
Right. It's not owed now or within the next. Right. It's not even due in the next year. So under generally accepted accounting principles, we're not showing those as a liability.
Okay. That's why we have Jim Holland on this committee.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Terry. Thank you.
So for the month of June, the net income was $115,230, again creating a positive budget variance. This amount, though it appears large, it's due to $77,000 being reclassified during the month for the special assessments collected from the localities. And this special assessment was part of the plan to get the fund balance up to the target. And again, we did reach that target this year rather than requiring the 24 months to get there. So in essence, the June net income without the 77,000 is right in average for the months of what was earned in April and May. So that explains why, it was such a large jump for the month of June. These statements here were provided before we received news of the $42,000 adjustment for VRS. So here you'll see a different amount than the communication letter that Reverend Nelson has provided. But again, our year-to-date net income is going to be $278,068 in agreement to the letter and communication that Reverend Nelson has provided. And the fund balance will be $1,068,688, which is lower than what is presented here due to the VRS adjustment.
Anything else, Terry?
No, sir.
Okay, well, okay. Thank you so very much, Terry. We appreciate that. And so we have received the VRS adjustment that will be included. It's my understanding the financial statements as of June 30th include all accruals. Is that correct?
That's right, Mr. Holland.
And when will we reflect the adjustment from VRS? When would that be reflected?
It's reflected in the numbers that were provided in the communication from Reverend Nelson.
Yes.
So it's already been recorded for the year.
You've recorded? Okay, as of June 30th.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Will be included in the audited financial statements that'll be presented to the committee later this fall.
Okay, any information on the audit progress, expectations at this point, Terry and Martha?
The trial balance has been provided to the auditor, and we are working through the requests now. The auditor has agreed that the revenue portion of the audit will be conducted on site as opposed to remotely. So we're working on that now, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Well, thanks so much, Terry. Thanks so much, Mark. I tell you, and Chairman Nelson, we appreciate everyone's input. A special appreciation to the Finance Committee, which has worked diligently to get us to this point. And I want to thank all the localities who provided their special assessments as noted. We greatly appreciate that, and kudos to the team for cost cutting and monitoring all the expenses, and certainly being mindful of the revenues as well. Thank you all so very much. Anyone else would like to comment? I think this is a great report and something we should all be proud of, Mr. Chairman and group.
Ms. Holland, this is Canova Peters.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Please.
just going to make a suggestion because the finance does get a little detailed.
Yeah.
And I know we're still doing virtual meetings for a full commission, and we have to do that. But I would suggest when we're getting into our smaller committees and we've got that boardroom to work with, that it might be time for us to go back to in-person meetings where we can see and talk with each other face to face and better communicate with what's going on.
Yes, sir. Certainly noted. I appreciate your recommendation, Mr. Peters. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Yes,
Yes.
this is Larry Nordvik from Powhatan, and
Yes.
I was in on that, full body decision to get the $1 million rainy day fund, if you will. We have an extra $68,000 in there, and we did an assessment on localities, which means taxpayer money. We now have more than $1 million in there. What happens with the excess that we assessed our taxpayers for?
Well, it's not my recommendation, but that's a great question. Let me just say, first of all, that we should probably let it stand because, as I understand, Martha, correct me, we did give a break to each locality in the revenue to the tune of 5 cents. Is that correct?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right?
This year's fiscal year 2021 member dues were reduced
Yes.
in order to accommodate for the economic challenges that your localities are facing.
Thank you. So in that regard, I do not see that as excessive in terms of just $68,000. If localities are having extreme financial difficulties, which I don't see how that small amount would certainly, I couldn't recommend rebating it at this point. I think we should move forward as we are and assess the situation maybe quarterly.
Okay, and Supervisor Nordvik again, and I realize $68,000 stacked up against $1 million is, it's a relatively small percentage, and I also understand the bureaucracy about trying to do a rebate and all. And we hit the mark fairly close, actually, in my opinion. But let's just be careful. I don't know if we need something in place to put a lockbox on that money, because we did not do a line item, for $68,000. If someone just decided to spend it somewhere else, that's not the line item that we agreed to, nor did we assess the money for. So I don't know if we need, an asterisk in the spreadsheet and some comment below that there's a lockbox on that money, or, any suggestion would be welcome.
Well, I appreciate that comment. We certainly will be mindful of that, as I believe strongly that we're not going to be frivolous. We suspended a number of functions, such as the 50th year anniversary dinner. We suspended a number of things, so we're not in a position to just spend money. We have to be very frugal and very conservative now. That means not, certainly not. But if you want a footnote or asterisk, certainly that's not a problem with me. But I think that the committee and the commission has been very judicious and wise and get to this point. And therefore, I would not support any type action other than the fact that we continue to be judicious and continue to be conservative and spend very wisely. And I think the entire commission, I would hope, would agree with that assessment.
Mr. Holland, this is Neil Spoonhour from Goochland County. I'm wondering if there's already a mechanism in place to access those funds because of the type of account it is that would account for that. So are there approvals that need to happen to access those funds already so that the gentleman's concerns would be already abated?
Okay, we could certainly discuss that in the finance committee. We'll be glad to discuss that as the finance committee meets, and certainly we'll be glad to make recommendations to the full commission appropriately. But we appreciate your input.
I would like
Let's
to
get over
add,
Peterson. Let's go Peterson on the committee. I should point out that the policy was to have the $1 million reserve minimum. That was not a written in stone number. And as long as we're, within a reasonable range of that, I think I agree with Mr. Holland. This is not time to be adjusting for small amounts. If we started getting way out of line with what our goals are, then yes, we would need to be looking at how to redistribute.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Peters. And so we will be certainly monitoring this and let you know if there is any significant changes, but we're not out of the woods yet, in my opinion. I believe we could be even better. And that means looking at the assessments that if there's any do. So again, we will discuss this in detail with the finance committee, but I think we're in great shape, and I applaud the efforts to get here. If there are no other questions, I'll turn it over back to Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Nelson, were you able to sign back on? And
I think, can you hear me?
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
sir.
I'm sorry. I'm walking all around my house trying to find good internet service. So did we do a roll call vote yet?
We did not. We are at that point right now for if there's a motion, we need a motion and a second to accept the financial statements for May and June that were presented by Ms. Ackout.
All right, I'm sorry, guys. I'm having some internet issues, but let's go ahead and move to the motion. Can we get a motion from the floor? Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the financial report as presented.
Denova Peterson, second.
All right, it's been moved by Mr. Holland, second by Mr. Peterson to accept the finance report for June 30th, 2020. Diane, can we get a roll call, please?
Ms. Russell?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. McGraw? Thank you. Mr. McGraw?
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Davy?
Aye.
Ms. Fry?
Aye.
Ms. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Holland?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Winslow?
Aye.
Mr. Blackwood? Ms. Gray?
Here.
Dr. Newbill?
I meant aye, not here.
Thank you. Dr. Newbill? Mr. Giovia?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker?
Aye.
Mr. Archer?
Aye.
Chairman Nelson?
Aye.
Mrs. Burnett?
Aye.
Mrs. Thornton?
Somebody needs to mute their phone. Somebody needs to mute their phone.
Mr. Thornton, Mr. Moyer,
Here.
thank you. Ms. Page,
Aye.
Mr. Byerly,
Aye.
Mr. Nordvig,
No.
Mr. Hall. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Diane. Let's move on to the next committee item, which I think is nominating committee. Dr. Newbill.
I think we may have lost Dr. Newbill. Oh no, she's here. Let's see. Dr. Newbill, are you still with us?
Hear me?
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We can hear
Okay.
you. Yep.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Spagner and I served as your nominating committee working with our CEO, Martha Heater. We presented a proposed slate to the membership committee this morning, minus a vice chair. Based on discussion this morning, we now have a full slate, a full proposed slate to bring to this body for consideration. Since I don't have visual, Martha, if you would present that, I would appreciate that.
Yes, I can. So the slate is, our chair is proposed as Neil Spoonhauer from Goochland County, our vice chair, Chris Winslow from Chesterfield County, our treasurer, Sean Davis from Hanover County, and our secretary, Larry Nordvig from Powhatan County. This is a slight adjustment from the usual rotation, but as Dr. Newbill indicated, it does satisfy the expectations and the desires of the executive committee, those members that would be serving as the slate of officers. And I think we can easily make the adjustments necessary to keep the rotation relatively intact and make sure that nobody loses their entire chance in the cycle to move in through the succession of leadership. So again, Chair Spoonhauer, Vice Chair Winslow, Treasurer Davis, Secretary Nordvig.
Thank you, Ms. Heater. Mr. Chair, at this point,
Yes.
I believe that proposed slate is before the body. Is that correct?
Yep, sounds good. Are there any persons with any questions or comments before we move to a vote for the proposed slate of officers? All right, we're hearing no questions or comments. Diane, we need another roll call.
Did we get a motion on that?
Oh, but we didn't. Thank you. Sorry. Need a motion in a second.
I move to accept the slate.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Mr. Chris Archer and second by Councilwoman Kim Gray. Now can we get a roll call?
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
Aye.
Mr. McGraw?
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhauer?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Davy?
Aye.
Ms. Fry?
Aye.
Ms. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Holland? Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Winslow?
Aye.
Mr. Blackwood? Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Dr. Newbill?
Aye.
Mr. Giovia?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker?
Aye.
Mr. Archer?
Aye.
Chairman Nelson?
Aye.
Mr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Thornton? Mr. Moyer,
Aye.
Ms. Page,
Aye.
Mr. Byerly,
Aye.
Mr. Nordvig,
Aye.
Mr. Hall. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to our new officers. Usually we would do a swearing in at this time to make the transition feel a little bit more official and formal, but that is a matter of it's not a necessary step that we take. So I just want to say thank you so much to our exiting officers. Chairman Nelson, I think there will be time on the agenda also for you to give some closing remarks, but also to be able to say thanks to all of our officers who served in the past year. Mrs. Page as treasurer, we thank support. It probably goes unnoticed to most members of the board, but serving as treasurer is a higher interaction with our staff, especially during this remote time. So we appreciate your time in that role as well, and look forward to working with our new officers. Chairman Spoonhour, would you like to take over the meeting?
Sure. I'll take the virtual baton from Chairman Nelson. First off, I want to thank the previous board and Mr. Nelson for his leadership. And I don't know if it's appropriate for me now to Reverend Nelson, if you'd like to say a few words now, or if you want to wait till a little later.
I think it's a time on the agenda later, so I'll wait.
Okay, great. Just very much look forward to working with everybody. I'm relatively new to this board. I actually volunteered to be on this board to get to know everybody, and COVID has really impacted that. So I very much look forward to the spirit of regional cooperation and just really getting to know everybody and expand with this peer group. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to a lot of great things in the upcoming year. But again, thanks everybody. So with that being said, let's move right along into the executive director's report. Ms. Heater.
Thank you. I'll take just a brief moment to step aside and say welcome to Mr. Thornton. I see you've joined the call. I apologize for the confusion this morning, so we'll make sure we get situated with you. Just to bring you up to speed, we're at the executive director's report portion of the agenda, in case you are following along with your copy. I'll just refer you to pages 24 through 29 of the staff report. It's a pretty hefty report this time, so if you have a chance to take a look at it, please do that and let me know if you have any questions or would like some follow-ups. I'll call a couple of things that are not included in the staff report to your attention. We did have a new commissioner orientation session on Monday, and a few of our members were able to sit in on that. I'm going to work to, particularly as we navigate this online opportunity, I'm going to work to try to provide those orientation sessions probably at least once a quarter, so that anybody from the commission who would want to sit in on one could do so either in the office with me or virtually. So look forward to that. We'll send notice of those dates once they're set, and then at your convenience, you could tune in if you'd like. There was also a suggestion during that orientation meeting that we'll talk about further with our new chair about the possibility of also taking advantage of virtual platforms to be able to provide some kind of deeper dives on staff members' content and work, so that they could give you updates on work that they're doing. We're oftentimes limited in the agenda to about 20 minutes when we're together, and probably less when we're in a virtual setting. So we thought we might be able to set aside special times for staff members to feature their work and talk with and interact with you as commissioners about particular projects or issues that the region is facing. So we'll work on that later this fiscal year. I did want to just mention, I think the staff report in general hopefully reflects to you that during this transition from in-person to remote work, our staff has done a phenomenal job transitioning and adjusting to all of the changes that I'm sure everybody has had to face. But you can probably notice that, with the transition to the new fiscal year and summer months and remote work, they have not skipped a beat. And I just want to commend them for the hard work and, just the sort of perseverance through what has been a very challenging time for everybody. Our staff members are no different than anyone that you all work with and facing kind of all the challenges that go with bringing work into our homes. So thanks to the staff and just want to give recognition to them. Our work is different, but they have come up with some really creative ways to make things move, and we're actually seeing some positive benefits in some areas, and we're learning along the way. So with that, I'll transition to the next item, item 2 in my section, if that's okay, Mr. Chair. Great. Today, thank you. We have an offer, a resolution for your consideration today. This draft resolution is designed to be able to officially provide staff support to the newly forming Central Virginia Transportation Authority. You may be aware that the General Assembly established the creation, the authority for this authority to be formed in our region. It is an exciting and for some long sought opportunity for our region to generate local revenues to support local and regional transportation investments that are sorely needed. This was a fast-moving General Assembly session, and to the credit of probably several of you that serve on this board, as well as your staff members at the local level and your administrators, made it through the General Assembly session this year and was actually authorized to enact as of July 1. So rest assured, a significant group of people from the localities has been working in the form of a working group along with Eric Gregory and Chet Parsons from our team to be able to think through the possibilities of what the structure, how it will take form according to the code requirements and how we can move this forward. The intent is that the inaugural meeting of the Central Virginia Transportation Authority will occur on August 27th, later this month, at the Greater Richmond Convention Center. Our staff, along with locality staff, have been working to set up the logistics for that meeting and to be able to put together an agenda that will hopefully be equally informative to orient the members, many of whom are on this board and who know each other already, as well as those members who we don't work with as much from the state, be able to provide that opportunity for you all to get to know each other as fellow authority members and to move swiftly as possible through the action items that are needed to form a new entity. This resolution is intended, if you choose to approve it, to be provided to the members of the authority at their first meeting as an offer of support services for this fiscal year. While the authority gets up and running, there are a number of administrative tasks that need to happen. There are a few requirements in the actual enabling legislation that the authority needs to comply with this fiscal year. And informally, PlanRVA was approached and asked if we would consider helping out with that. And so I bring this resolution to you today. Mr. Gregory is here on the call who can elaborate if you have any questions on how this relationship could form. And my suggestion would be that if you do choose to approve the resolution, we would place the specifics and mechanics of the relationship with the Central Virginia Transportation Authority on the next agenda of the Audit, Facilities, and Finance Committee. The intention would be that if the authority accepts this offer, we would then move to negotiations of an MOU, set up a funding agreement for our compensation of support services provided over the course of the year, and be able to move forward with transparency. I'll take a breath there, pause for any questions, and I can elaborate further if that's the desire of the board.
Thank you, Ms. Heater. Any questions?
This is Patricia Page. My question is, and I'm sorry, I'm like Dr. Reverend Nelson, I have internet issues in and out, so forgive me. I didn't hear, when we talked about funding, will that be established as to where the funding will arrive from? Will it arrive, be a part of regional, or will it be a part of the the individual localities?
That's a great question. Mrs. Page is referring to the structure of the authority, I think, and how compensation to the commission would occur. For those of you that are not as close to the legislation, generally speaking, the authority will have to deal with two revenue sources, one from fuel tax and one from sales tax. Those will be combined. And my understanding is that the code lays out an allocation back to the jurisdictions at a specified percentage relative to the local generation. So for example, the fuel and sales tax generated in New Kent County, a prorated portion of that will go back to New Kent County for local investments in transportation. There will also be a regional set aside for regional projects, and there will also be a set aside for funding for transit, presumably to be directed to the Greater Richmond Transit Company. At this point in time, I am not aware, Mrs. Page, of the specifics of how the authority will elect to fund its operating costs. However, I think the discussions that I have been privy to have suggested that the operating costs would come off the top. So the revenues would be collected, the operating costs would come off the top, the distribution to localities would be according to the code and prorated according to the local source. The regional pot would be established and the GRTC funding would be established. That's not set in stone and will have to be determined by the authority, however.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to add, because I have been doing a little bit of research in the background with Hampton Roads PDC, and they have set it up to where their bond indenture document lays out the percentage that can be used for their PDC for the overhead cost incurred in their transportation authority. If that's helpful.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments?
Mr. Davis, I only have one comment to add. The statute for the CVTA does set forth the annual budget process for the administrative and operating expenses. So that's fairly clear. I believe the understanding is that those expenses would come off the top before the other distributions are made. And so there will be that budgeting process in place, and the commission would receive some monies for its overhead costs and that it incurs in providing the services under the idea that's being proposed now with the PlanRVA providing those services. Regarding the resolution, I have one comment. I recognize that there's a typo in the last paragraph. I would suggest a friendly amendment if it could be considered. So read in the last line there, will provide all support services that are reasonably necessary, legal, and proper for the organization and support of the CVTA. So I would suggest the insertion of necessary, legal, and proper between the words reasonably and for on the last line of that resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Appreciate that.
If any other questions or comments? If not, I'm happy to sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me, sorry, Mr. Schuhauer. I will just say one more thing just so that it's in full disclosure before any motions are made. I do believe that technically speaking, we have the staff capacity to be able to offer the services. However, I would like to share with the board, as I did at the executive committee, that this is a new work for our staff and was not planned in our work program that I think you all already know is a fairly aggressive work program for the fiscal year. So if this offer were to be accepted, and depending on the scope that is negotiated with the CVTA, I would like to be able to come back to this board to discuss consideration of filling the positions that were discussed in June at our budget. We do want to be mindful of not overloading our staff with work. Certainly mindful of the economic conditions that we are facing, but we do likely need to make some adjustments to our staff capacity to continue our existing work program and take this new work on.
Thank you, Ms. Heater. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Holland, and toward that end, I want to make sure that any cost that we are incurred is certainly fully compensated in that regard, Ms. Heater, and that there's some minor degree of profit, maybe 10, 15% with regard to that, because it will be a new territory, and certainly that requires new skills and of course maybe head count. So I want to make sure that we're fully compensated. We're not at deficit in this regard. Off the top.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Any other comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Maybe I'll make a motion to accept the resolution as amended.
Second. Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
A motion from Mr. Carroll and a second from Mr. Davey, if I'm correct.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. All right, thank you, Martha. Can we go ahead and get a roll call vote?
Ms. Russell?
Aye.
Mr. McGraw?
Aye.
Chairman Spoonhour?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Davey?
Aye.
Ms. Fry?
Aye.
Ms. Haley? Mr. Holland?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Winslow?
Aye.
Mr. Blackwood? Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Dr. Newbill?
Aye.
Mr. Giovia?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker?
Aye.
Mr. Archer?
Aye.
Reverend Nelson?
Aye.
Mr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Thornton?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Byerly?
Aye.
Mr. Nordvig?
I'm against the CVTA as a principal, so I'm going to vote no, but I do have confidence in our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hall? Thank you.
Thank you. The motion carries. Moving right along into other business, Ms. Heater.
Thank you very much. We are reaching near the end of the meeting. I just want to mention to everybody, especially since we have some new members, we do have a total of 3 committees for the commission. The executive committee, which is comprised of representatives appointed by each of your jurisdictions. It's a 9-member committee established in our bylaws. We have 2 additional committees, our audit, facilities, and finance committee. Thanks, Diane. The members are listed here. This announcement is for 2 purposes. One, to verify that those that are listed here are still willing to serve this upcoming year. Mr. Spoonhour will prepare this as an official appointment of committee members at your next full meeting. But so we wanted to just put notice that we are asking those that have been serving if they are interested in continuing to serve, but also would like to extend the invitation for anyone who would like to serve on the Audit, Facilities, and Finance Committee. That committee will be meeting on August 25th at 10 a.m. I think based on Mr. Peterson's comments this morning, we'll work with the members in the chair to determine if we should have that meeting at the office or continue virtually. As you can imagine, there's quite a bit that will be on that agenda just based on today's call. And so that will be an opportunity for any commissioner who wants to get more involved may do so. Our other committee is the Public Outreach and Engagement Committee. Our members that have been serving on that committee for the last 1.5 to 2 years are also listed here. And certainly if anybody who's been serving would like to step off or would also be willing to continue to serve, please let me know. And we would welcome other members of the commission to join that committee. It meets a little bit less frequently. Finance committee meets about once a month, or at least has interaction with us to review financial statements. The Public Outreach Committee has been meeting more on kind of a quarterly basis and serves as an advisory group for us to brainstorm at the staff level on our activities as we try to lean into public engagement, raise public awareness of the commission, the good work that's happening in the region, and how we can get our citizens involved in our planning activities. So I'm happy to elaborate with anybody who's interested in serving on a committee, but I did just want to take that opportunity to request your consideration to participate. And there's no action from that. I will conclude my part with just again reiterating the recognition of our FY20 officers and the committee chairs. Dr. Spagna served as our chair of the Audit, Facilities, and Finance Committee. Mr. Holland has agreed and offered to serve as chair this fiscal year, so we thank both of them for their service. We are looking for a chair from the Public Outreach and Engagement Committee. Mr. Nordvik has chaired that from its inception and has been a great leader in helping us think through opportunities that we have, and all of the members of both of those committees have been very active and have been a huge help in making the progress that we've made. And our officers, as I mentioned before, have also been very engaged and just really appreciate the support offline that they give to staff as we rely on them to do critical work of the board. Mr. Spoonhour, I don't know if anybody would want to give any other remarks, but I think that would be the time on the agenda to do so.
Okay, great. I'd love to open it up. Again, my thanks to not only just the previous board, but the current board that I'll be serving with. And Reverend Nelson, would you like to say anything at this time?
I just want to thank Martha and the staff for all the hard work they have put in. You know, I came up through the line, I think treasurer, vice president, vice chair, chair. So I've been working with the leadership team for a couple years. Dr. Newbill and Dorothy Jekyll were preceding me, and I learned a lot from them. And I'm appreciative of everybody that has worked with us over the past year. I'm looking forward to PlanRVA continuing to be a solid regional partner for all of our localities, and I'm looking forward to doing everything I can to support new leadership.
Thank you. I've got your number on my favorites list now to ring up with questions, and I appreciate that. Any other folks like to take a moment at this time?
Mr. Chair, this is Patricia Page. I would like to say to Reverend Nelson that especially during this time of virtual meetings and with everything that has been going on, and all of the unknowns, your leadership is especially appreciated, and also your commitment and your dedication to this board throughout the years. And so I am extremely grateful for your service, sir, and thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ms. Page. Thank you.
I'd like to ditto that. I also ditto that, Mr. Chair, and thank Supervisor Chairman Nelson for his outstanding leadership and service. We appreciate all his service to us. It's made a tremendous difference, and we thank him again for his letter that was sent. I think that was so appropriate and timely with regard to the financial condition of this commission. So that does not go unlikely. And let me also add another comment briefly, if I may, in addition to thanking him with regard to the new transportation authority. I think that's a significant step forward for this region, which puts us on par with 3 other major regions in the state in regard to transportation. And it's my hope that we will be wise, judicious, and do as intended when the General Assembly approved this, because I can tell you, I haven't served probably more than 14 years. This is something that was not very not done very lightly. I can tell you that. There were times it wasn't even contemplated that you could even get this on the floor, let alone an agenda. And therefore, it's my hope that we will seriously look at regional transportation with regard to GRTC and the Richmond Metropolitan Transportation Authority. So I just want to point that out, but thank you.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chair, if I could, Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to, Cynthia Newbill, again express my sincere thanks and appreciation for the extraordinary leadership that Reverend Nelson has provided to this body during his tenure, and look forward to our continued work together.
Thank you, Dr. Newbill. Thank you, Mr. Holland. Thank you, Ms. Gray.
Mr. Chairman, Canova Peterson here. I'd like for us to do an experiment. It might go crazy, but how about if we all unmute and give a hand to our outgoing chairman?
Let's give that a shot.
That worked well, guys. I heard it. Thank you. Thank you.
Great job, Mr. Peterson.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
I also want to ditto the fine job that my colleague from Verona has done. And I also want to double ditto what Commissioner Holland has said about this new creature, the CVTA, and that many of us who've been around a good while have worked very hard for this, including the present commissioners. And this is our opportunity to change this region and let this region be a regional player among the other regions, because that's what people are going to be looking for, to come to a progressive region. So I really ditto the remarks of my good friend from Chesterfield, Jim Holland. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. When one of the people said, Mr. Chairman, I thought they were still talking to you. So this is definitely new. So appreciate everybody's patience with this as we move forward. But thank you again so much. And again, we'll be calling for advice. So appreciate the offer. All right, at this point, we will move into our second public comment period. This is where speakers can address the commission for up to 3 minutes on any matters relevant to the body. Please give your name, locality, and if appropriate, the organization you represent. You may also submit comments through the live chat function. Is there anyone on the line that would like to provide public comment? Hearing none, I will close the public comment period and we will move into commissioner comments. And I'll be completely honest, I'm not really sure I know what that is. Is that my comments or just in general?
This is a time that's been used historically for commissioners to share any updates. I think there's been announcements about tomato festivals in the past. There have been recognitions of interesting or beneficial things that have been happening in the community, or just a time to be able to articulate anything that you'd like to see on a future meeting agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Martha. So I'll open it up to the team. Any comments from anyone? Am I going to adjourn my first meeting 15 minutes early? Really? I don't know if I should set that trend. All right.
A good feeling among all of your colleagues, I think.
Well, I'm happy to give 15 minutes back to this hardworking group. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Holland, so moved.
Second.
Thank you. And do we need to vote on this, or do we just do? We don't. All right. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to working with you, and thanks for all your hard work, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a great day.